going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power, and the finals for the 2024 New York Pro just wrapped up. I gotta say, this was a nail-biter of a finals because they said at the finals comparison with Nick and Martin. So we did finally get a top two call-out of just Nick and Martin. But during that call-out, the head judge actually said at finals that for prejudging, it was a 1-point decision, which really surprised me. That is absolutely huge for Martin Fitzwater. So we'll talk about that in a second. First, we'll go over the placings. In fifth, you had Christian Wolski. In fourth, you had Beef Stew. In third, you had Tonio Burton. In second, Martin Fitzwater. And in first, Nick Walker. So let's look at the top two comparison first, because I think this was really what a lot of us wanted to see. At prejudging, you never got a clear top two. You just had that top four. Even though after prejudging, I think most of us knew that it was going to be Nick and Martin. But I got to say, watching the top two comparison, that's what made me kind of on the edge of my seat when we were listening for the actual placings. When they said this was a 1-point decision, I thought for sure that that would have to mean Nick was ahead at prejudging, but ahead by 1 point. And I felt like Martin improved a lot. He looked fuller and harder for finals. And I thought maybe Martin did enough here to close that gap at finals if it was that close at prejudging, because I felt like it was a little bit more of a gap at prejudging, but I feel like Martin looked so much better at finals. It was looking pretty close, knowing that it was a point decision. So like I said, this is huge for Martin. He just won his first pro show a couple weeks ago, and I believe that was only his third pro show as an open bodybuilder. So previously, he hadn't even won a show, just won his first one a couple weeks ago. And now he's pushing one of the top 3 bodybuilders in the world by just 1 point. So I know Martin looked a little bit disappointed when the final results were announced, but honestly, this is a massive feather in his cap. This is definitely something for him to be proud of. You know, I thought he was going to be second after prejudging Martin, but I didn't think it was going to be as close as it was. That really surprised me. And that's huge for him. Nick is one of the best bodybuilders in the world right now. And I was sitting there waiting for that final announcement of first place, and I was like, man, could you imagine the upset if they announced Nick Walker in second, Nick and Martin? But I will say this about Nick. Obviously, impressive victory, very competitive lineup. Obviously looked significantly improved from Pittsburgh. I think what he did in 1 week's time, from that guest posing to this show, was an incredible transformation. I thought he did a much better job here of controlling his midsection than he did in Pittsburgh. Personally, I don't think this was the best Nick Walker we've ever seen. But make no mistake, I don't think Nick was off here. I think Nick was spot on with his conditioning, which kind of begs the question, what does this mean for Nick? That a guy that just won his first pro show pushed him to the point of a 1-point decision at prejudging. Because I say that to say it would be more understandable if Nick was off. Then you could say, oh, well, I was off, that's why it was so close. But Nick wasn't off. Nick was on point, which makes this even more incredible for Martin. And as you guys are watching this top two comparison, I want to know what you guys think in the comments down below. When you're watching them pose, what do you think the closest poses were between Nick and Martin? And which, if any, poses do you think Martin beat Nick in? Because for it to be that close, 1 point, it had to be more than the poses that I thought for Martin. Because I originally thought, in the prejudging video, I believe I said the abs and thighs, the front lat spread, and maybe the side chest. So that would be 3 of the 8 poses. That would be maybes for Martin. I think those were the poses that they were the closest in. And maybe the back lat spread was close. For it to be a 1-point decision, they would have had to have Martin beating Nick in at least 3 poses. I would say, and I'm very curious to hear Tyler Mannion's recap of this, which I'm sure we'll get next week. But I would say for me, the closest poses that I would give to Martin, or Martin has an argument for, definitely the abs and thighs. Martin's quads are just crazy. And he obviously has a smaller midsection, better taper than Nick. Almost arguably bigger legs than Nick. Or at least bigger quads. I would say the front lat spread, because in my opinion, that's one of Nick's weakest poses. In prejudging, I said the side chest, just because I feel like Martin's chest is a little bit fuller and just, it shows better in that pose. So I could maybe see the side chest. I think Nick hands down takes the most muscular. That's definitely like his bread and butter pose. I think Nick hands down takes the back double bicep. Again, maybe the back lat spread was a toss-up. Side tricep, I guess that could be a close one too. Front double bicep, I think, is a hands-down one for Nick because his arms are, I think, significantly more developed in that pose than Martin. So it's a tough one. But I think Nick is definitely taking front double, most muscular, back double, probably the side tricep. So I guess the toss-up would be the back lat spread. Now, let's go into the top 4 here. So this is the top 4 comparison from finals. So this also included Tonio and Beef Stew, and of course Martin and Nick. So noticeably absent from the top 4, we talked a lot about Quint Beastwood. We talked a lot about Angel Calderon Frias. Neither of those two guys made the top 5. Justin Rodriguez as well was out of here. I got to say, I was really impressed with Beef Stew. Really impressed with how he looked here. Like I said in the prejudging video, I think Stu, he looked a lot bigger than I expected him to look. I mean, they did a call out of just him and Tonio, and he just looks so much bigger than Tonio. And Tonio is a top 8 Olympian. Tonio is he's the defending New York Pro Champion. So when we talk about this era that we're in of bodybuilding right now, that's why this was such an exciting show to me. It's like you've got these newer guys like Stu, like Martin, making real waves here. At the finals, I almost thought Beef Stew might take 3rd. I had him in 4th at prejudging, but seeing him next to Tonio in that call out of just the two of them, I could have saw him in 3rd place. And as far as Tonio, I just felt like he didn't look as sharp as he could have. And I feel like that's why he was out of that top 2 conversation. But overall, really exciting show. I mean, like I said, I was on the edge of my seat watching those finals because I thought there was a chance. After they said it was a 1-point decision at prejudging, man, I really thought there was a chance that we could see a massive upset at this show. And again, kind of interesting to think about with Nick Walker. Obviously, it's good that he won the show. I mean, it's a huge win for him. This was a tough competition. It's obviously a good thing. But is it bad that he was pushed as hard as he was by a guy that's never even been to the Olympia? Because that is the situation here. Nick Walker is a top 3 Olympian, and he was just pushed to a point by a guy that's never even competed in the Olympia as an open bodybuilder. Because I think while a lot of people expected Nick to win, they didn't just expect Nick to win. They expected this to be a blowout. Nick would come in and just stomp the competition, and it would be a hands-down victory. And that 1-point thing, man, that's not a blowout. And I also want to give a shout-out to Ole Crivier that won the 212 portion of the New York Pro, and Matt Grego, who won Classic Physique. And just last week, he competed in the Pittsburgh Pro, the Classic Physique, and took 2nd, so a big win for him here. But I'm just so caught up in this, the open bodybuilding story here. I think it's so interesting because I don't think anybody expected it to be close with Nick and anybody in this lineup, let alone Martin. And I'm just really impressed with Martin in this. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to take away from Nick's victory. I was impressed with Nick too. Like I said, I do think he nailed it. He was in good condition. He was not off. But that's what I think makes this interesting, is an on-conditioned, very good Nick Walker still being pushed to a point. This is exciting competition. And it's really exciting to see this era of bodybuilding with these up-and-comers like Martin making waves like this. It's really cool to see. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Did you have Nick winning? Did you have Martin winning? Were you surprised by this result? Were you surprised by the 1-point decision? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon, all that good stuff. And as always, I love you guys, appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at NickStrengthPower. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my 3rd YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, That will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.